What's up, YouTube? Back with another video, and as you can see, I'm driving, and as you can see by the title, I'm gonna be speaking on what I've learned so far from trucking on my fourth day of trucking. This is what I learned so far, and this is not just my fourth day in general. Of course, I was trucking with my mentor, so this is like my fourth day on the road by myself, and these are some things that I took from trucking, or some qualities that I realized that you must have in order to succeed in trucking. First thing first, you can't be weak-minded. You can't be a weak-minded individual. You're out here all alone. You have to be very headstrong. Especially if you don't know anyone else who's doing trucking. Yeah, you might get some help from your company or some people you can talk to, but if you don't know anybody personally who has been in trucking or is currently in trucking, things are gonna be a little bit difficult. But me personally, I had people that that went before me, and I know some people personally that were in the trucking, so that has actually helped me out a lot, the ins and outs of this thing. But you can't be weak-minded. You're out here all alone, especially if you're doing OTR, you're state to state. You'll miss your bed at home. If you have like a feeling of like, if you have FOMO, fear of missing out, you're not going to be able to function out here properly. You're not going to be able to stay present if you're worried about what's going on back at home. So first things first, you can't be a weak-minded individual. Second, the second quality you have to have, that I realize you have to have, is you can't be impatient. You have to be a patient person. There's people who will be in front of you and stuff like that, and they're just now starting off, and they'll take 30 minutes to park. They'll be sitting right in front of you. They'll take 30 minutes to park, and or you'll be having a hard time parking yourself, and you'll get stuck. I got stuck. For those of you who didn't see my most recent video, I spoke on that. I got stuck, and if you're not patient, you'll rush the process of just trying to get unstuck, or if you just want to if you don't want to get out and stop, if you don't want to stop the truck and you just want to drive this thing like it's a car, and you don't have the patience to get out and look and check your surroundings, and you just want to rush through everything, you're not going to be successful in this industry. So that's one thing. You have to have patience. If you don't have patience, you're gonna find yourself getting frustrated. One thing I noticed is you don't have to restrict yourself to just one part of trucking. There is many parts of trucking. If you do your research, and you don't have to just think your OTR, that you're on the road and you're going state to state. Yeah, depending on if you could get in a local company or not, then that's good for you. But it's a lot of people, you might have to start out OTR, but yeah, and some people prefer OTR, But for the people that seek that work-life balance, you know, you would want to do local, and you can do local. You know, some companies will accept you with no tractor trailer experience, and you could do local. But there's hazmat. You know, right now I'm doing reefer, which is a refrigerated trailer. So right now I'm hauling food. But hazmat, which is, you know, hazardous materials, and you can do a flatbed, and you could, you know, if you're doing local, you could do a day cab where, you know, there's no bed in the back, there's no section for a microwave or a you know, a refrigerator in your cabin or in your sleep. There's no sleeper berth. That's what they call that. There's no sleeper berth. So yeah, there's all kind of routes. You know, there's some people that do hot shot. You know, you don't even need your CDL license for that. You know, all you need is a certain pickup truck, you know, and you could have a flatbed in the back, and you know, you could make decent money. You know, it would be equivalent to being an owner operator or having your own semi. But you know, you don't have to restrict yourself. There's a lot of different lanes when it comes to just transporting, you know, goods for companies, or doing your own thing, creating your own LLC, and just hauling. So you don't have to restrict yourself. Those were some of the things that I learned, you know, just on my 4th day, you know, of trucking, and just of me, you know, just being over the road. And it's cool, you know. It's not. It comes with its pros and its cons, you know. Like everything has its trade-offs, you know. I will say, you know, you do have to sacrifice. There's a lot of things that you have to sacrifice. So just depending on where you're at in life right now, you know, if you could get the local job, I would recommend you to do that. You know, if you could get your CDL, you could get a local, I would recommend that, especially if you're not making much money. You know, you're doing a minimum wage job, or you know, you're not really bringing in the money you want for yourself. Definitely, if you could get a local opportunity, do that. Eventually, that's what I see myself doing at some point in time. But out here over the road, OTR, what I'm doing right now, I will say that you have to sacrifice a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's getting put on the back burner. Your life, you know, your life back home, like I said, you know, is gonna get put on the back burner. Things you were doing back at home, you working out, or you having a good diet and eating super good and eating super clean and healthy. You know, it might take a hit the first few weeks or so, because that's currently what I'm experiencing. You know, my face breaking out and all kind of stuff, and you know, that's gonna take a hit. You know, family life, things back at home is gonna take a hit. You know, things you may have been working on, it's gonna take a hit. So just keep that in mind. You know, there's a lot of things that you're gonna have to sacrifice, but it's worth it. You know, depending on where you're at in life right now, you know, it's worth it. But that was it for me on this video. I'll see y'all on the next one. God bless.